3 years ago, I accidentally slept with my boss. It left her psychologically scarred. Her mother threw down a check for 10 million. As long as you can make my daughter accept men. Name any condition you want. In recent years, because of my outstanding work ability, I was transferred to headquarters as the female CEO senior special assistant. When I pushed open the door to the CEO's office, I saw only a tall figure in a suit, buried in piles of documents. Hearing the sound, he looked up at me. Are you Mubai, the new assistant my father picked for me? I nodded and gave a brief self-introduction. He listened quietly, his gaze lingering on my face for a moment, as if puzzled. Assistant Mew, have we met before? Before he finished speaking, strange floating comments suddenly appeared before my eyes. The male lead and female lead have finally reunited. Male lead, run already. Once the female lead finds out you are that man from that night, you're doomed. Looking at that perfect face of his, my heart suddenly trembled. The memories buried for 3 years surged up like a tide. We had not only met before, we had also shared an unforgettable past. It was just that I pretended not to know him. 3 years ago, I had just entered society, as a college student about to graduate, and got drunk at a party. Dizzy and muddle-headed, I struggled back to the hotel, seeing the room door left ajar. I wanted to go in and wash my face. To sober up, there was actually a woman inside the room. She was in no better condition than I was. Only later did I learn she had been set up by someone. He looked at me and suddenly pulled out his phone. He pulled up a medical report. His voice carried a sob. Can you help me? And of course I softened. He cried until his nose turned red. Tears hung at the corners of his eyes. A wave of guilt surged up in me. I felt I had gone a bit too far. In a moment of stupidity, I left 300 yuan by the bedside and hurriedly left. At the time, I never imagined that night would become the point where our fates intertwined. After 3 years apart, I fought my way up from a tiny intern to become a senior special assistant. The department that kept making things difficult for me back then had long since been eliminated for lack of ability, and through hard work and opportunity, I was promoted at an astonishing speed. For the past 3 years, I had almost never taken a vacation. I even worked overtime during the new year. The wealth and glory I have now did not come easily. I told myself I could not give all this up because of romantic entanglements. Bai Being's scrutinizing gaze made my heart race. The aura of authority around him was far too strong. Thinking of how tearful he looked 3 years ago, I used my professionalism to hide the turmoil in my heart. I had previously been working at the branch office and was only recently transferred to headquarters. Bai Being looked over the project proposal and said seemingly casually, "No, Assistant Mu looks a lot like someone I met 3 years ago." I forced myself to smile along. Actually, I just have a very common face. After hearing that, Bai Being let out a long sigh of relief. That's good, then I can rest assured. I was completely confused, but the floating comments answered my confusion. The male lead still doesn't know how much psychological trauma he caused the female lead that night. When she woke up, she was even stuffed with 300 yuan. The female lead thought she had been treated like a call girl. Humiliated and furious, she cried once more. My heart went cold by half. I thought to myself that I had only made the mistake all men in the world make. Fortunately, Bai Ning did not continue questioning me. He coldly instructed me to prepare the materials for tonight's meeting. Then he buried himself in work again. Afterward, he said in a cold, deep voice, "Bring me a cup of coffee. No sugar, add milk." I secretly thought to myself, isn't that just a latte? But I still wore a standard professional smile on my face. Okay, Bai Zuo. Soon, we lived in peace and worked together for a month. One day, I suddenly received an invitation from Bai's mom. Everyone in the company knew that nominally the chairman was the figurehead leader, but the real power was in Bai Ma's hands when we met. At first, his aura was overwhelming. "You're the special assistant old Shen found from Minbing, right?" he asked. I nodded, not daring to look directly into his eyes. His tone softened a little. "Don't be nervous. Young man, I came to you because I have a favor to ask. I heard you've already been working by her side for a month. The assistants who have worked by her side over the years never lasted more than a week. I thought it over and over, and you're the most suitable one for this matter." I secretly felt delighted. Could it be that my talent had finally been noticed? Unexpectedly, Bai Ma took a sip of coffee and said righteously, "I suspect she might be a lesbian. Help me test whether she really is." My eyes widened. "Aren't you mistaken? I'm a man. How is it that Bai's mom directly transferred 1 million to me? The note said, voluntarily gifted to you. Don't worry, if I say you can do it, you can do it. This is just a deposit. Once you figure it out, I won't treat you unfairly." I hurriedly tried to refuse. "No, I really can't." Bai's mom instantly understood and nodded. "Looks like I still gave too little." The next second, 5 million yuan arrived in my account. I couldn't help opening my account and counting that string of numbers. I exclaimed, "I'm financially free." Bai's mom looked at me and said proudly, "You agree now, right?" I was stunned senseless by the money, my head nodding like a pounding garlic press. "Yes, absolutely yes. From now on, whatever you say goes." Bai's mom suddenly let out a heartbroken sigh. This child looked quite normal growing up. I don't know what happened either. Since 3 years ago, after I sent her out to a business dinner once, when she came back something was just off. No matter what, she refused to get a boyfriend. As if men were some kind of terrifying creature. I shuddered violently. That night 3 years ago. Could it really have been because of me? I guiltily said. "You mean? I guarantee you'll complete the mission." Bai's mom stood up and patted my shoulder, looking rather sorrowful. After all, if she really doesn't get a boyfriend, then our huge family business will truly have no successor. Her expression fully revealed a mother's sorrow and helplessness. Faintly, there was even a trace of the desolation of a hero in twilight. I couldn't help sighing. What on earth had I done? I only have this one daughter. At my age, I can't have a second child anymore. Please, you must make her bring a boyfriend home to meet me. My gaze turned resolute. I nodded firmly, patting my chest as I replied, "When I handle things." From then on, my regular work became a side job. My daily task was to turn on my radar and search for suspicious people around Bai Bing, whether female or male, then report to Bai's mom in real time. But I didn't know whether Bai Bing was too cautious or my ability was lacking, because I never found any clue at all. But I'm an outstanding employee. If there's no performance, then create performance. I felt smug inside as I came up with a brilliant plan. As long as I could make Bai Ming admit that she doesn't like women, then that 10 million would be easy money. If I can't bear to use myself as bait to lure the wolf, I refused to believe she could look at my cousin's photo. I stayed up all night cramming flirting techniques online. That very night, I switched to my cousin's gorgeous profile picture. "Sis, you're so pretty. Where do you work, sis? Can I come see you tonight?" After sending the messages, I stared at the screen, waiting for her reply. I only saw that she had read them. Then she visited my profile to make it seem more real. My profile featured beautiful photos of my cousin, who was staying at my house. My cousin just started her freshman year of college this year, 175 centimeters tall, with delicate features and a slender figure. Sure enough, 3 seconds later, it showed that she was typing, but no message came for a long time. I copied those fake sweet lines online and kept talking. "Why won't you reply, sis? Is something on your mind? If you reply to me right now, you'll be happy all day." Who knows how long passed before she finally replied with a question mark. I kept talking. "A pretty girl like you, sis, must have lots of people chasing after you, right?" This time she replied very quickly. "I don't like your type. Stop bothering me." I immediately took screenshots and sent them to Bai's mom. My task was basically done. Reporting to the boss, Bai Ming. "She doesn't like girls." Bai's mom replied just as quickly. "Received. Let's meet and discuss in detail." The next second, my account received a full 10 million in cash transfer. In the cafe, Bai's mom took a sip of coffee, looking grave. Since she's not a lesbian, why doesn't she get a boyfriend? I haven't seen her suffer any heartbreak either. I was still immersed in the joy of receiving 10 million. My whole head was spinning when bullet comments suddenly appeared again before me. The male lead is still being dumb. Once Bay's mom finds out that the person keeping her daughter from getting a boyfriend is you, guess which shark's mouth you'll end up in? It felt like a bucket of cold water over my head. I instantly sobered up. I almost forgot about that. I carefully observed Bay's mom's expression. Suddenly, inspiration struck Bay's mom. She started searching around. My phone. I remember now. I need to check what happened that night 3 years ago. No, please. My wonderful life hasn't even begun yet. But Bay's mom had already made the call. Her tone was stern. Her aura fully unleashed. Housekeeper Wang, go check immediately what happened 3 years ago to Miss. On the night of her first business dinner. The person on the other end kept saying yes, after hanging up. Bay's mom's expression softened a little. I seized the chance to probe. Boss, can I leave now? Bay's mom stared at my face, commanding without anger. What's the rush? I gave you 100. You should at least produce something tangible. I stood properly in place, putting on an obedient and attentive look, while actually having already planned my escape route. Take the 10 million and leave for a faraway place, and never work for others again. But Bay's mom seemed to see through my thoughts. You'd better not think about running. Otherwise, I have plenty of ways to make you spit that money back out. Help me with one more thing. Once it's done, I can send you abroad for bloodshed. Forced by the pressure of power, I could only lower my noble head. He lowered his brows and acted obediently. The white horse's tone softened a little. You can make her interested in men. It wouldn't be impossible for you to be her boyfriend. He'll give you another 10 million, plus a seaside villa. I'd wanted to refuse, but 10 million and a seaside villa were just too tempting. I gritted my teeth and stamped my foot, and tearfully agreed to buy in the company. She was still as picky and detail-obsessed as ever, but I no longer complained. In my eyes, his features were delicate and handsome, even somewhat appetizing to look at. He was no longer just my boss, but my walking treasure too. Sure enough, when people aren't short of money, they want to resent going to work. Perhaps my service attitude was just too excellent, because Bai Ling recently unbelievably proposed that when we returned from the business trip, she would give me a full salary adjustment. I didn't really care, but to keep my persona from falling apart, I still acted very devout. After lying in wait for so long, I had long since been unable to hold back. I hurriedly sent a video call to Mother Bai. Boss, the time is right now. I'm awaiting your orders. Don't rush, you'll arrange everything. You just need to do as I tell you. I replied out of habit. Received. Then Mother Bai changed the subject. I've already found out what happened 3 years ago. My daughter was probably frightened by a man, which is what caused this. I carefully probed. Then have you found that person? Mother Bai sighed. The housekeeper has already gone to investigate. It's just that the video is rather blurry. It only captured the man's back. My poor daughter, the first time she went out, and she ran into something like this. No wonder she has refused blind dates all these years. I let out a breath, and said righteously, I believe that person must have deeply regretted it afterward. The urgent priority is to cure Bai Mingding. Mother Bai rekindled her fighting spirit. You're right. I'll immediately arrange for you two to go on a business trip together. Be smart and wait for your chance to act. As long as my daughter can get rid of her trauma, I'll keep giving you bonus money. I sighed inwardly. Mother Bai really keeps up with the times. She even knows about giving bonus money. No wonder she can make big money. I quickly fawned. Wow, only you would have such a brilliant idea. Mother Bai was delighted by my flattery, and immediately decided to give me another 1 million after it was done. I received a call from Bai Mingding. He told me to book plane tickets for a business trip immediately, before I even had time to coordinate the script with Mother Bai. I got on a plane bound for abroad. Just after getting off the plane, we were kidnapped by a group of people. Bai Mingding and I were tied up like twists, and thrown onto the drafty back seat. The howling wind lashed against my face, yet I felt inexplicably excited. I didn't expect the script arranged by Mother Bai to be this thrilling. Bai Mingding looked at my excited expression, with a speechless look. What kind of time is this? Could you act normal? I hurriedly put on a frightened expression. Several men in black threw us into a warehouse. Only after being thrown into the dark, damp warehouse did I realize this didn't seem to be a setup arranged by Mother Bai. A group of black-clothed guards stood in the warehouse. It had been when a masked woman walked in surrounded by the crowd. Her gaze was cold and sharp. She walked straight toward Bai Mingding and grabbed her by the chin. It'll definitely sell for a good price. Bai Mingding frowned, trying to dodge. No matter who sent you, let us go now. I can give you 1,000, 10,000 times what you can. The woman lightly patted Bai Mingding's face with her hand. Big talk, but why should I trust you? Bai Mingding's eyes were sharp. It was that mistress's daughter who sent you, wasn't it? The only thing she can give you is money. But besides money, I can also give you connections and resources. Help you leave this place and live in the open. I was startled. This familiar plot. Isn't this the female-oriented novel I read before? The woman took off her mask, revealing a stunning face. Her smile was brazen. What Miss Bai offers is indeed tempting. It's just a pity. She's not only my employer, but also my lover. So today, no matter what, you say I won't let you leave. Then, with just a look from the woman, the man in black beside her got the hint and grabbed a handful of candy and stuffed it into Bai Mingding's mouth. Only after she completely swallowed it was the woman satisfied. She ordered them to keep a close watch on her. I was dumbfounded watching from the side. What the hell is all this? Only then did the woman notice me and look me up and down. As useless. Deal with him however you want. Then she left without looking back. As soon as she finished speaking, the familiar floating comments appeared again. No way is the male lead just written off like this. That's way too casual, isn't it? Although the male lead is a senior show type, timid and useless, he's still a person. Author, come out and say something. I was on the verge of tears. I haven't even finished spending my 10 million yet. Although I don't know martial arts, I was born with great strength. Driven into a corner, I unexpectedly burst out with amazing power. I broke free of the ropes directly. Everyone looked at me in shock. Bai Mingding on the ground was flushed red, like a cooked shrimp. I couldn't wait any longer. He was feeling terrible. It's not that I felt sorry for him. It's just that if something happens to him, Mother Bai won't let me off. I cracked my knuckles. Fearless. Then why don't you try? Since I was little, I've been through plenty of beatings. I've taken more hits than meals. I don't like meddling in other people's business. But when it comes down to it, I will never back down. The man in black was intrigued by me. He threw a punch and charged at me. Just as the fist was about to land, he was suddenly tripped by Bai Mingding by accident. I dodged nimbly. A high kick. A scream. Tore through the damp air. The other men in black swarmed up. 2 fists can't beat 4 hands. I could only adopt guerrilla tactics. Defeat them one by one. 10 minutes later, the ground was covered with people lying there. I was exhausted too. The 2 sides were deadlocked. I took the initiative and said, Stop, stop, stop. How much commission is she paying you? Us go. Seeing the situation was unfavorable, weighed his options and agreed. After the transfer was made, I hoisted Bai Mingding onto one shoulder and quickly left the warehouse. After walking out of the warehouse, I didn't dare stop. I walked for a long time without stopping. Sweat ran down my forehead into my eyes. I didn't dare stop either. I didn't put Bai Mingding down until I was sure it was safe. The flush on Bai Mingding's face grew even deeper. He had to be taken to the hospital immediately. I slapped him twice hard. At last, it brought him back to his senses a little. After waiting for quite a while, I finally got a taxi. I had just started to say to the hospital when Bai Mingding suddenly grabbed my wrist. I'll go to the hospital, go back to the hotel. His palm was burning hot. I panicked. In your condition, if you don't go to the hospital, something will really happen. Madam will feed me to the sharks. We were very close. He forced himself to say, we can't go to the hospital. There may be his people there who report back to the hotel, call a private doctor instead. After thinking it over, I found what he said made sense. So I told the driver to go to another hotel. I hurriedly booked a room. Supporting Bai Mingding, I staggered into the room. I tossed him onto the bed. I hurriedly dialed the private doctor's number that I'd settled on with Bai Mingding on the way. They said he was his childhood friend. The standard doctor every domineering CEO comes with after hanging up. I found that more than half the money was gone. I thought when this is over, I must make Mama Bai pay more. While the doctor was on the way, I went to the bathroom to freshen up a little. I was showering in the bathroom when I suddenly heard a loud bang outside. I quickly tied my bathrobe and ran out to check. But all I saw was a vast white snowy mountain. Maybe Binding Bing felt hot. His body was curled up. Those eyes stared at me pitifully. His usually cold voice was weak now, like he was acting spoiled. Help me. This scene was exactly the same as that night 3 years ago. But I actually wavered a little. Suddenly bullet comments flashed before my eyes. The male lead actually hasn't gone offline. Curious where the plot will go next. Why does the female lead feel a little suspicious? Could he be pretending? Too bad the male lead didn't see that the female lead quietly ate the candy beans by herself again just now. I suddenly snapped awake. I lowered my head and looked at Binding, who was holding me. The corner of his mouth seemed to curl up faintly. I bent down slightly, wanting to push him away. But he suddenly raised his head and kissed me. I instinctively pushed him away. But the next second, an unfamiliar feeling suddenly surged through my body. Why was this happening? I staggered backward. I felt for my phone and checked the call log. Only then did I realize the doctor's number I just dialed had turned into an invalid number. Cold sweat slid down my spine. The air in the room seemed to freeze. The bullet comments started scrolling wildly again. Stop struggling. The male lead has already been set up. Who knows how much time passed? His movements gradually weakened. When I turned back to look, he was already curled up in the corner of the bed, fast asleep. I helped pull the blanket over him, and after washing up briefly, I went to sleep in the room next door. This sleep was far from peaceful. The hardships of my youth kept appearing in my dreams from time to time. I was abandoned. Later, a kind person sent me to an orphanage. I originally had no chance to continue my studies, but fate favored me when I was being maliciously pranked and tricked onto the road to the suburbs. I unexpectedly saved a rich young master. Although the price was a broken leg, it also earned me the chance to study. Seeing that my grades were pretty good, the rich family publicly announced that they would fund my college education. The wealthy family was not stingy with donations, but by the time this money finally reached my hands, it was only enough to keep up my studies. Life was still tight. In order to change my fate, I studied hard and finally got into a prestigious school. I grew up struggling through life on my own. All the grievances I swallowed alone. I thought I had already forgotten those hard days, but the inferiority brought by poverty lingered like a shadow. The embarrassing experiences of my youth replayed before my eyes frame by frame like a movie. My nose grew sorer and sorer, and my eyes began to ache and swell. An indescribable sadness made me cry. But suddenly, those images shrouded in dark clouds were dispelled by a glaring beam of sunlight. When I was forced to open my eyes, I met Binding Bing's icy brows and eyes. He glared at me with a face full of resentment. Yesterday you just walked away like that. I was, all night, and I felt very wrong too. I retorted self-righteously. Do you still want me to take responsibility for you? The moment the words left my mouth, I regretted them a little. Because Binding Bing looked like he was about to shatter after hearing that. He took half a step back, and said with a deathly pale face, Are you serious? I coldly spoke emotionlessly. A love with unequal family financial strength is just a pile of loose sand. It falls apart without even needing the wind to blow. There can never be any result between us. After hearing my words, instead of getting angry, he laughed. So it was only because of money. Don't you know the thing I lack least is money? Of course I know. But what does your money alone have to do with me? He silently took out his phone. After a burst of rapid tapping, my phone received a payment notification. He said spiritedly, Now let's have a good talk. He revealed a meaningful and unusual smile. Assistant Mew, you don't think your disguise was that good, do you? I jolted and looked at him in shock. You knew? He had a look that said exactly as expected. Sure enough, I guessed right. So the person that day really was you after I took the money. I felt reassured inside, okay? And replied without the slightest fear, so what if it is? But both times, you were the one who asked me. My conscience is clear. But he frowned. What do you mean, I asked you? Wasn't it you who contacted me that day using your cousin's account? I let out a sigh of relief, realizing we were not talking about the same thing. How did you know the person who sent the message that day? Binding Bing's expression turned unpleasant. As he said, you've been sneaking around in the company all this time. I thought you had stolen the company's confidential files. I didn't expect to find that my mom had sent you a large sum of money. He sat on the stool, gracefully crossing his legs, and asked me with overwhelming pressure. I want to know what kind of deal exactly happened between you and her. I thought awkwardly, wanting to find a crack in the ground to crawl into, and told the truth. Actually, at first I was only sent to test whether you were a lesbian. After finding out you weren't, I thought you might have been hurt. So you didn't like men. So I continued carrying out the task, to get you to find a boyfriend. But you don't need to feel too inferior either. After all, you still have money. Still very pretty, and there's even hope of finding a boyfriend. When Binding Bing heard the two words pretty, his whole face started turning red. I still wanted to keep talking, but he directly covered my mouth. All right, stop talking. Hurry and book a flight back home. After booking the ticket, I heard him, with one ear red, whisper to me, It's not that I'm uninterested. It's that I'm not interested in anyone else. On the flight back home, my mind was in a complete mess as I thought about how to explain it to Mother Bai. After thinking for 3, I half-concealedly reported the whole incident to my partner, and promised that after returning home, she would transfer that Seaview villa to me. Just as I secretly breathed a sigh of relief, timed by Ningbing's voice. About last night. Did you report it to my mom? I could only nod honestly. You were very satisfied with my performance yesterday, and your mom was also very pleased. Aren't you happy? The smile at the corner of his mouth couldn't be suppressed at all. He asked me half-believingly about yesterday. Was I really very satisfied? I nodded hard. Of course I'm so great. How could you possibly be dissatisfied? I saw Binding Bing purse his lips shyly, and say with feigned restraint. Good that you know. So what if she's a rich young lady? I handled it easily, and after landing, Mother Bai kept her promise afterward, and transferred to me a Seaview villa worth over 100 million. I calculated the savings I had on hand, and decided to resign and go enjoy life. To pursue the ideals I couldn't realize in the past because of money. The moment I submitted my resignation, I felt like my whole being had been elevated. But heaven did not grant my wish. An accident happened while I was planning my new life. That house Mother Bai gave me still had a loan that I needed to bear. Now, not only did I need to pay back all the money they had given me before, I also owed them 30 million. I aggressively wanted to go ask for clarity when someone struck me from behind with a heavy blow. When I woke up, I was lying on a soft big bed, but I was tied up. The next second, someone opened the door. He stood there, his face frighteningly glooming, and the look in his eyes toward me was like a lurking giant beast. Hey, are you sick or something? When that person stepped out of the darkness, only then did I realize he wasn't Bai Lingding. Their brows and eyes were somewhat similar, but up close the obvious difference could be seen. After hearing my words, he only kept exploding with rage. Bai Lingding stole my place, so I'll steal what she likes too. That's what counts as fair. I asked with certainty. You're Bai Lingding's younger sister. Seeing her non-committal look, I continued to sneer. You, the daughter of a mistress. How do you have the nerve to seize the family fortune their mother worked so hard to build? The disgust in her eyes was almost spilling out. So what if it is? My mom is the woman my dad loved most. I couldn't understand her way of thinking, but my strength had recovered quite a bit. With a hard tug, I broke free from the restraints. She was stunned by me. Then her expression darkened, and the look in her eyes changed. Couldn't tell you were actually quite capable. He moved closer and closer. Finally, at the moment he was about to pounce on me, I kicked out at him. He was knocked straight to the ground by my kick, and couldn't get up for a long time. I hurriedly threw on my clothes, wanting to get out of this place as quickly as possible. When I finally made it to the door, I got stuck on the door. It was too high-tech. I didn't know how to open it. I could hear the footsteps behind me getting closer and closer, but the door still wouldn't budge. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would lose because of strength, but because I'd never seen anything like this before. At the critical moment, I could only hide for the time being. He was in the room, searching all around for a while. Before sitting down on the sofa, he picked up the phone, checked the villa surveillance footage from the last 30 minutes for me. He shouldn't have gone out. He should still be inside the house. In less than 10 minutes, there was a knock at the door. I have very good eyesight. I saw with my own eyes how he opened that door lock. With a ding, the door opened and he went flying. I was stunned. He let out a scream and clutched his chest, glaring viciously at the person gradually walking in from the doorway. Limited by my angle, I could only see one foot stepping on his stomach. Where is he? By Joe, who gave you the nerve to touch him? I heard a familiar voice. It was Bai Ningding. While he was still mouthing off, I quietly crawled out from the corner. In here, you absolutely can't let him off. Seeing that I was fine, Bai Ningding continued teaching his younger sister a lesson. It completely refreshed my understanding of him. I was completely dumbfounded. Just watching the commotion, I even forgot I should take the chance to run. It wasn't until Bai's subordinates arrived that they finally stopped. Or rather, Bai Ningding unilaterally stopped. This time things had blown up badly. Even Bai Mom came. But the mother and daughter were exactly alike. Neither of them gave Bai Joe on the ground an extra glance. I was inexplicably taken into the car. The atmosphere in the car was extremely subtle. When I thought about how I still owed 30 million, even the way I looked at them carried anger. Perhaps sensing the anger in my gaze, Bai Mom cast me a cold glance. Don't look at me like that. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for signing without seeing clearly. After Bai Ningding secretly nudged her, she changed her tone again and said, young people ought to work hard. Wouldn't it be fine if you just kept working at the company? Or just become my son-in-law? I guarantee that apartment and the money still will be yours. I looked completely incredulous. Bai Mom abruptly changed the subject. Right now, other than working and becoming my son-in-law, I thought about it carefully. She was right. I really had no other way to pay back such a huge sum. I went back to my life of working like a beast at the company. It's just that this time there was, thanks to Bai Ningding agreeing to let me stay for another year. Once I paid off the debt, I would be allowed to resign. At the company, the way Bai Ningding and I got along became much more awkward than before. Although he let me come back to work, he hardly assigned me any work at all. I didn't understand what he meant by doing this. After thinking it over, rather than keep wearing myself out, I cornered him in the office and pulled the curtains closed. I questioned him why he wanted to treat me like this. Bai Ningding's cheeks were flushed red. The way she looked at me seemed somewhat serious. Because I love you. Seeing how serious he looked, I could only reply to her seriously as well. You don't have to because of what your mom said. Insist on being with me. You can refuse too. I won't mind. She held my shoulders. Looking into my eyes, she said, why would I reject someone as outstanding as you? We're a great match. Do you really dislike me? After thinking carefully, I realized I didn't dislike her. Although she came from a privileged background, she was humble as a person, exceptionally capable, and her looks and figure were goddess level too. I nodded honestly. Of course I don't dislike her. Her eyes lit up at once. I once heard a celebrity say, not disliking is liking, and liking is love. And love means it has to be me. If it has to be me for you, what are you still hesitating for? It was my first time hearing him say so much in one breath. Those fox-like eyes sparkled, awaiting my reply. My heart felt as if it had been struck by a heavy hammer. I actually overestimated myself and wanted to agree. Although his mother had already acknowledged me as her son-in-law, she saw through my concerns. I will do everything I can to help you become stronger. When that day comes, no one will say we're not a good match. I accepted this relationship, under her influence, and say, I got to know more connections and resources. Bai's mom also smiled in relief. In just one short year, I built my own company with my own hands. Profits in the tens of millions. Sometimes the turning point in life lies in one inconspicuous opportunity. Maybe from that day on, the gears of my destiny began to turn.